Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, let's do this thing. I'll play one game and then we'll get into it. Let's see here. Okay, that was a good game there. Okay, this was right here. Let's analyze this game, and then we'll go into Akobian's game. In the A division, it's a recent one that he played. It's the summer game, Summer Division A, and so he's in that one. And we're doing the one where Akobian is, I believe he's white. Let me see. Yeah, I think he's white, and Jeffrey is black. So it's really good. I was looking at this. If he plays here, and he plays there, queen takes here. Excuse me. Then he plays knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, and then we win the queen. So okay, I didn't see that. I was thinking about that move, but I really I resigned at this point because there's no way to stop the the thing. He would actually at this point have to give his knight up. Then potentially takes, and probably I'd move up here at this point. And now I get my pawns are rolling. So that's that game. So let's get on to our other game. So let's see what we got here. We're not going to play. I just want to see. Okay, there's a lot of. Let me see. Let's see how many streamers are on. Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to check to see that. Okay, now let's get into Akobian's game. D4, knight f6, c4. So the Indian game. Then we go into King's Indian. D4, knight f3, bishop g7, c takes d5, and this is where it kind of gets spicy, as they say. Jeffrey takes, and b takes now. Kobian has a really strong center, 2 versus 1, and so he has a lot of space. Jeffrey doesn't, but Jeffrey has, as they say, the fortress, so he can hold. So he lunges out with c5 to actually undermine the pawn structure of a Kobian on c3 and d4. And so Kobian's getting ready, so if he takes, for him to take, or potentially takes, and then takes, and then takes, takes, and it's a 1 versus 2 majority, so it's about equal. So he plays, Jeffrey plays a5, which is kind of risky bringing your queen out that early. That's just my opinion. This sets up for some good discoveries. He really can't push this, because if he pushes this, boom, you lose the queen. So we know he's not going to do that. So Kobian goes rook c1, so that now he can push. And if this takes, and if queen takes, then you have knight takes. It's an interesting position for sure. And then potentially Jeffrey can fianchetto his light squared bishop. So interesting. Knight d7, d5. And now he's got c4. This cements everything now, but Kobi's got to be careful, because I don't know if that actually helps. Nope, my bad. He has to actually take, because if he did that, that'd be horrible. He can win the queen, so that's a mega blunder. So he's going to play here, and then knight takes, because it's the only way to defend e4. If he takes with the bishop, the pawn falls, so he's got to take with the knight. b6 now. Jeffrey's going to try to get his bishop to either b7. This cements his structure also of holding back the c4 pawn, which then allows the pushing. This allows VAR to push, because there's really no threat here. At a certain point, maybe you can have bishop here and then a pawn push, or rook, bishop, pawn push. But I don't think Jeffrey wants an isolated c5 pawn. So now Kobian built his superior wall. This is the base pawn. This is also a base pawn, but even if this pawn fell here, it doesn't affect this chain, because the true base pawn is right there. So there's actually like 2 base pawns. So even if one falls, the other will hold. So e6, king d2, f2. At this point, it's a closed game, so Kobe is not too worried about the placement of his king. He wants to get his king closer to the center, but safely. And so f2 is actually, king f2 is a really good move, because if it goes into an endgame, he's actually 2 moves away from the center. Rather than if he castles, he'd be 1, 2, 3. So he's only 2 in that way. And then knight d7, f4. Now this is going to start becoming a pawn chain attack. g3. So if he takes here, you can actually take back. Now he's got an open file, half open file, and the ability to go e5, which is really interesting. f5 was played by Jeffrey, which does weaken his king, so he's got to be careful. He's undiscovering an attack. He wants to see if he can't get a knight in here or a knight there, because these are 2 excuse me, this potentially could be an outpost later on. That's potentially an outpost as well later on with this knight moves. One sec, I need to get a drink of water. One sec. Excuse me. Hold on. Allergies are a pain. But you know what? We're not giving in. We're gonna continue to keep going. Hey, how you doing? We're going over Akobian versus Jeffrey. This is actually from the spring championship at St. Louis. So this is a really interesting game. Akobian is tied with I forgot the name of the player that he's tied with. So it's going to come down to tomorrow. If Akobian draws and the other player draws, they'll have a playoff at 5 their time, and so it'll be it's going to be interesting. So it's going to come down to what Akobian does tomorrow. So yeah, I'm doing good. You can't have a bad day when you're doing chess. G takes f5, h3, a to e8, rook a8. That's so that when that opens up, potentially he can have an open file that he can dominate. This move is actually really important. It neutralizes as well, potentially, if that opens up, bishop, he can implant a knight there. So it's still tempting. One second. Okay, dokie. So he takes there. Now rook. If he could trade this off, Akobian's got a pass pawn. Jeffrey's got a pass pawn. The difference is Akobian's is actually protected. It's a protected passer. So this will always have to be babysitted by the king. This structure. Because then what you can do is cement with a4, and that can't really be pushed. Because if it does, you then can take back, and then you have the theory of two weaknesses, and boom, baby, you're starting to win. h5, bishop. And there's the a4 that we talked about. Yes. Also, it's on the pawns of the opposite color of this bishop. Bishop takes. He tried to because this pawn's eventually going to fall. Jeffrey tried to get a sacrificial kind of compensation for it. So that's kind of why he tried to pull that away, and then rook takes, pawn takes, and so it's interesting. Okay. Well, we're almost done with this one. Then put it in, and we'll go over it. h4. And then rook f3. This is now this becomes a superior power. Takes. So right. Rook. He comes in behind. Now he takes that pawn. Rook d. King goes e1 check. And now if he checks here, we have a what looks like a Lucinda position, and Jeffrey resigned at this point. Right here, excuse me. None of this did it. No, so that's where he resigned. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. Okay. Let's get the PGN file. Gotta get rid of that. I'll put it into this one here. So you're black, the black pieces. And we will turn off the engine right now. Okay, C4. Yeah, E5. Knight C3, Knight F6, G3, Knight C5. Huh. So you're trying to do, and like the Broxy bind as they call it, you're trying to keep a bind on D4 for your knight, and kind of you're semi-building a stone wall. Later on, you can always push that. Castle kingside. Okay, so far so good. Ooh, you gotta be careful. That surrenders this here. Surprised he didn't take there. I think that wins. Let me see. Yeah, he lost. This is actually the best move here. You probably, if you're gonna play that move, you're probably gonna want to play first D6. He's probably gonna play E4 to stop you from coming in. And then you have bishop, yeah. Then you have bishop. G4 is an interesting idea because of this pin. Bishop can't come here. I actually won a game, so he's probably going to play more like that. He comes back and then he can play, and you could play this way, but I don't know. Then you're kind of going for an attack. You can actually bring your bishop here, queen here, over. Some attack could have come into play. So he plays there. Okay, you take. Bishop takes. And rook b5. Interesting. Yeah, I guess you kind of have to do that because unleashing this bishop on this file here. Right there. I don't know, at this point I probably would have traded and then kind of cemented my position with b6. If he tries here, then I go 8 d6. If he takes, then I take back, and he probably would retreat back at that point because he doesn't want to get his bishop trapped. And you then can potentially take scope and he could play there, but I don't know. I don't think he would play there now that I think about it. E5. If he's an IM, he's probably gonna play more F5 at this point. Pawn takes, and let me see what would be a good move. Potentially there, so he'd actually have to. Wow, you actually win his. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you're winning there. Snap. That is a good move. So b6, not bad. Bishop takes. You did a good job. Yeah, blitz games are you have to be fast in those. Then bishop b7. It's not bad. So you're wanting to exchange off. So remember, in a actually, I think potentially you could have just played here, cemented the position. But I think he was a little concerned about probably potentially this. But I don't know. I guess he can undermine it there. I mean, potentially just pin. You have there if he takes. Yeah, I guess he does win a pawn there, so you can't do that. So you do your rook. Okay, bishop there, there, there. Okay. I know why you're doing that. You want to get your rooks on this open file here. Not bad. Yeah. Surprised he didn't double up here. Well, I guess he doesn't want to lose that. This does take advantage of the, but he does lose that, so I guess he's got to play that now that I think about it. That is kind of forced. I don't know, I might have played that if he plays there. Kind of might have played there, but I don't know. I think that's a little too, you know, too overbearing. Potentially that, yeah. So he's going to have to play there, then he'll have to defend. That's a potential, this is a potential idea. And I think you have him locked down at that point, so maybe this would be a draw. Thinking potentially that would be an interesting idea. Takes, then you have there, and because you don't want him to check. Yeah, I'm just taking a look to see if there's anything. No, he's gonna stay. He'll have to stay here, and then at this point you can actually check. Then if he comes up, well, I guess you wouldn't want to check there, would you? You'd probably want to play there. And then maybe here. I don't know. Potentially, I think that's losing now that I think about it. No, it's losing for you at that point. Okay, so you can't do that. Yeah, I was just looking at some lines to see. So potentially, more likely that's probably best. Because then it plays here, 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 here. I think it'd be more of a draw here. Yeah. I think that actually is your best. I don't really see anything else that you could do. Maybe there. So I don't think he would do that. He might try there, and then what you can do is come down here, and his rook's then stuck there. Yeah, you're right, you were winning. Yeah. Maybe it is losing now that I think about it. You might have to shoulder him away now that I think about it. Yeah, I think this is how you do it now. Then, yeah, we'll delete all that. That's not the correct line. Yeah. This is actually the line. You have to be careful. You got to take the opposition. So what you might play is there. And then you win the pawn. Yeah. Endgame is stellar when it comes to this. But yeah, it was interesting. You were winning. You were right. You can't go after this pawn. You have to shoulder him away from your pawns here. There's no real reason to do that. These pawns are your kind of insurance. And then he's kind of stuck. And he comes there, and then at the right time you can come here if he comes there. These pawns actually support themselves. He has to stay there because if he gets off this diagonal at all, it's game over. So you basically would just do this and walk this pawn down the board. Nice game. That was a really good game. Congrats on that. Do you have any questions or anything about any spot in your game that you would like to talk about or anything? Do you have any moves that you're interested in? Okay, I'll let you think for a second. We'll get into our tactics here. Hold on, I'll leave this tactic with you. Look at what the best continuation when I double. Okay, when you doubled your when you doubled your F pawns. Okay. Let's see, where is that? Gotcha. We'll look at that. Okay, he moved there. King F, and basically they're going to play more positional at this point. He's going to play there. Oops, my bad there. This is what they're going to play. And then at this point you want to undermine that structure, and you get your king off, and if he takes, it's like equal. Because that was kind of, it's now that when he played a4, you want to get your king active with these pawns, and then you can actually use them once you go d6. You then can break, and yeah. Why king? Why king f2, f1? Well, there's something called potentially distance opposition, and if the king was on the same color as this here, there's 4 points that if the king's on these points here, you actually have you pass him the move later on in the game, and that's, yeah, that's why actually now the computer thinks about it, that's actually best. So then F, and then now you're kind of keeping that he takes, and more, this is more like how grandmasters think. They try to break up this structure here, and that's kind of more what their ideas are. Is this is a weakness, why not use it to, you know, beat up some pawns on this side. And then if he takes here, which would be a horrible move, you now have, you're better as black. So he's not going to do that. He's going to try to more likely undermine. Now king f8 makes sense, because if he doubles up here, now you are protecting one pawn with a king and a rook, which frees this rook up. But the king does have the accessibility of going there, so if he takes here, now you're taking advantage, and if he comes here, you could take here, takes, if he takes here, actually you would want to play there, that's right. And it's more of a draw now if he, oops, yeah, if he takes here, you're actually winning, because now your king's closer to the center, because it's going towards an endgame. So mainly the grandmasters look for weaknesses. They kind of poke at certain things. When they see that this is a weakness, they'll shove a pawn up, and then they'll protect, and they'll shove another pawn up, because if that takes, then a rook takes, and now there's an open file for black's rook, and then potentially after this rook you can put a attack there, and then now this is a very weak structure, and potentially now you have an open file. So you got, we just have to start learning when to, you know, hit, when to hit, something like that. Do you have any other questions? Because that's kind of the, I'm still learning how they think, so I like going over their games, because their thinking is all about provoking weaknesses, and this is a weakness here, these two pawns. Okay. Do you have any other questions? And if you do, put it in. I'll be right back. I'll leave this for you guys to look at. Well, they do. The GMs do one thing. They're these pawns. If you take all the pieces off the board, I'll show you right here. I'll pull up hold on. Let me pull up an editor's board, and we will clear all this off. Oops, I have to keep the king on the board. Otherwise it won't allow me to well, I guess I could just take it off if I just keep it in editor's thing. Okay. Yeah, you guys know what this this line is. You see how you see this structure? This is the advanced variation. And this is called this is the pawn skeleton right here. This is the sole basis of when you look at the French without pieces, this is the skeleton of what it looks like. And so like if we exchange that off, this is now the new skeleton of the structure. They call it that. And so it changes, and then potentially you can break here, then he plays there, and then if you take, now this is the new skeleton. And so what grandmasters will do, we'll say they puncture something like, no, we'll say like this. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to remake and kind of morphosize the pawn skeleton so it gives them an advantage. That's why the computer wants right here, it wants these pawns to be doubled, is that it changes the structure of the skeleton. These now are weaknesses. And if I don't look at the board the same after I've learned this type of setup. You should actually take all the pieces except for the pawns, and then just play out like the openings with just the pawns, and just imagine the pieces, you know, move and everything, but just move it and see what the pawn structure looks like. Then you'll start getting an idea why the pieces are placed in certain spots. Why did the computer sacrifice a pawn to create pawns like this? It's because it changed the skeleton of the position. Now one pawn stops two. That's kind of the idea in chess. It's all based on the skeleton of the pawns. Each opening has a different skeleton, as they would say. Like then you have we'll do the French. You have the exchange variation, and this is what it looks like. Then let's see. Then what you do is you have then this position here allots itself to like two different openings, because you can have a knight here and then a bishop here, and that's the winner. Or you can have here, a second, what am I doing? Hold on, my bad, oops. And then you have a knight here and a queen here, and if you drat, very irritating. But yeah, okay, I gotta put a bishop there, sorry, bishop here. And this kind of, if you have a knight here, let's say it's black to move, the pawn's like this. We'll say he plays something like this, takes. This is the classic variation of the French. And if you notice, all we're doing is we're keeping pawn skeletons, just adding certain pieces, and it ends up becoming different openings. But the skeleton structure of like the Winier, the Tarrasch variation, the Rubinstein, it has a structure like this usually, and then sometimes there's the burn variation when this trades off and a knight's here. This is called the burns, and so you have the new structure is this pawn's like this pawn's here. So you just got to learn your pawn structures. That's why end games are pivotal for learning process, because what happens is you'll eventually get to a game where there's pawns versus there's a pawn versus a king. Let's put it right there. And this is what it's going to look like. And what the teachers usually do is they'll have their students, sometimes they'll actually play certain pawns, and actually I'll put a king there, and they'll see who can make a pawn, or they'll take the kings off, and they'll see if their students can actually make a breakthrough by using pawns. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. Okay, so that's why, like, let me see, what would be an interesting, let's see, this would kind of be, if you notice, this is the structure. Oops, we'll just do the London system kind of set up here. Then you have a bishop. See, all I'm doing is just adding pieces. I have a knight here, knight here. Actually, he'll have a pawn up here usually. I'll have a pawn here, and if you notice, this is kind of how it is. Even if the position, yeah, you have to be used to. It just comes with practice, and just learn. You know, just learn the pawn skeleton. That'd be my advice if you kind of want to learn why certain openings are played, why grandmasters play them. Just work with the structure of certain pawns. Certain pawn moves actually breed certain different types of structures, and that's why they move pieces. The grandmasters move pieces certain ways. It's because the pawn chain will tell them where they can, like if you had a chain like this, you of course know that Jeremy Silman says where the pawns are pointing is where you want to attack, because you have more space on this side here. So you're wanting to attack on the king side. You then can develop your pieces around here, or potentially here is a good idea as well. I mean, that's queen side, sorry, king side, that'd be queen side. And that's why at certain times, oops, I gotta put the pawns back. So that's why at certain times Harry's a good move to be played. And it just, you know what, you just have to slowly not worry about, you know, errors. Just play with the pieces. You know, figure out, you know, take pawns and find out what the pawn structure looks like, you know, after like maybe 10 or 12 moves, and just set up the pawn structure for, you know, like that, for that opening, and then you get to see what it's all about. Oh, you actually, what you'd want to do is, I've actually read a book that what they do is that you can take the structure of your the pawns all the way to like move 12, and then you set it up, and then you can see what happens after you know, 12 moves, what the structure of the pawn looks like, and then you'll get to see why, like, the moves. And what you can do is, let's just say that the structure gets to something like this, like here, and then we'll say something like this, and then we'll say here, and then he's got something. I'm just gonna make some moves, and we have a structure somewhat like this, and then we'll say here. We'll just say this is move like 15 or 20. Then you go and you say, where this is the structure of the pawns right here. For oops, I'll just put the king in. So we'll just put the king here, and I'll put the king here, and then we'll just we'll continue, we'll analyze from here, just so that we can do it. So this, let's just say this is kind of like the structure. What you do is you might have a knight here for black. Turn off the engine. You might have a knight here for black, maybe a bishop here for white, knight here for black, maybe like a bishop here. Then you have certain, you set up you get the pawn structure set up, and then you add pieces. And that's what my teacher taught me, was that you need to start at the end game, build your pawn skeleton, and then it'll actually tell you, your skeleton will actually tell you where to put your pieces. Yeah, you do place the pawns where, and if it's a certain opening, you do place them. Then you look at the board and you say, huh, that's why a knight needs to be there. That's why a bishop needs to be there. That's why a queen needs to be there. And that'll actually help you with your if you're wondering why openings are played certain ways, that'll direct you. It's not the full meal deal, but it'll kind of give you some idea of why pieces are placed and why grandmasters move certain ways, why they like the Berlin and the Sicilian, and why they like the Ruy Lopez. It'll kind of give you some clue on that. So I hope that helps. And it's not an overnight thing. You kind of gotta. Me and him had to work for like a couple hours a day. We worked in the morning and then we worked at night, and so it was an intensive study. Yeah. Good. I'm glad. And then you'll never look at the board the same way once you have taken all the pieces off and look at the position. You'll never look at the pawns the same way again, because they'll actually in Knights of South Bronx, there was a kid named Dawson, and he was like from kindergarten. They started playing chess, and he actually won when everybody else lost. And this one gentleman asked him, what did you do different? He said that his ninjas, which he liked ninjas, told him what to do, which these in his mind were his ninjas, these pawns. And so when his pawns moved to certain squares, they told him what to do with his pieces. So, and if it's funny, I know it's kind of interesting. It's like their pieces are inanimate objects, but the pawns do. My teacher told me do eventually. Once you start getting into the upper levels, they'll actually call to you what pieces need to be where. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it does. When I actually have that happen, I actually start winning, because my pawns tell me where to place my pieces. So, okay, we need to get into enough of that probably. We need to get into some of our tactics, and let's see if we can't find out what the drawback to this move is here. Sorry, I gotta. Okay. Okay, dokie. Let's see here. Yeah, that is what my teacher said. That's there was actually a belief that pawns, I think it's like the 1800s, that pawns were actually a weakness and what they should be is traded off. But then Aaron came along the scene and he wrote a book. Thus, I think it's My System. I believe that's the name of it. And he said that the soul of chess is actually the pawns. So then I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, because these pawns protect your king from being basically utterly obliterated. They also stake claims in the center so that your pieces can build up around them. He's right. They are the souls of chess. They are the soul of the chessboard. And I was like, wow. So I was like, that's kind of changed my perspective on pawns for sure. Bobby Fischer, I believe, took like a year off, and all he did was study the how pawns work and how pawn moves are, how pawns look in certain openings. Because he got like beat pretty bad by Boris Spassky, and so he decided to study his pawns, and he became, well, look, the world champion. So, and one of the most famous chess players in history. One of them, because there's been many more after him. But let's see. I'm trying to figure out what do we need to do. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure, but I know that you can like on YouTube there may be some maybe St. Louis Chess Club videos if you're a visual learner. They may Akobian does a lot of like endgame stuff. So does Yazzer. And so I'm not sure if there's really any. There is a book that recently came out, but I'm not sure about it. It was made by Sam. I don't Shankland. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked at it or viewed it. So supposedly it's good, but I'm not. I don't quote me on that. I don't know. I haven't even looked at it, so I don't know. But I'm sure. I'm sure if you did some research, you probably could find some books that are based just solely on pawns. But I don't really know. I don't really know if there's a book out there. All I did was study with my teacher, and so that's kind of where I learned that from. So I'm not sure. And certain books do, click with certain players. So that's kind of like my teacher said, if I was to study pawns like that, you'd have to find a book that kind of calls to you that you can learn from. So that's what I learned. Let's see here. What am I missing here? No, we gotta see. Let's see. There's no this. No, that's not hanging. That's not hanging. This potentially is hanging. So can we take advantage of maybe with queen? Yeah, I kind of like doing, I like books, but I like watching YouTube, teachers. That really clicks with me. Because then I can have a board right there, and I can pause it and set up the board like they have it up there, and then I can go over it. So I can have a board and be watching them at the same time. Let's see here. I would probably say that Jeremy Silman has a really good book. If you have it already, it's really good on the endgame. Jeremy Stillman's endgame course. I really like that. That's really helped me with my endgame play and pawns and everything. It's a little spendy, but or as they say, pricey. Perfect. And I went through it like 3 or 4 times, and every time I go through it, I learn something new in the end game. So, and my teacher also told me to. I believe he said that Nakamura is a really good endgame player. He's very pattern orientated, so the younger Nakamura was. I don't know about the older one now, but he said the younger one was really, really orientated in like the end game stuff. But you can even, you can even master the pawns and still lose, because even like the greats even lose, like the supers, even though they've mastered like pawn end games and stuff, you still have that human error factor. Oh, come on, come on! What are we missing here? Boy, this is a pain for sure. I'm trying, let's see here, because I'm trying to see, because I know if we can play queen takes bishop, we're attacking the excuse me, the rook. So, and even if he takes here, we still have that there, and even if he takes here, maybe we need to, after takes. But then you have a check here, so boy, this isn't a this is tense for sure. Let's see some. I just want to see. So here, there. Okay, so trying to see if rook takes, check, king goes here, we get a discovery. which would be more likely that would be a good discovery attack. And then if he comes back, we take. We check, it comes up. Then we take. So we'd have 2 rooks for a queen. Okay, if we take here, then he takes here, we take here, he moves over, we take there, check. If he moves over, thinking that potentially we may have mate here, so here, here, there. If he moves over here, we take. If he moves there, we actually can bring our bishop here, threatening to check. I mean, potentially we take here, that might be better. Boy, this is a kind of thinking maybe it's that, because we don't really have to give up our queen. Does have bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes. Oh, sorry. Queen here. Oops, sorry, queen there. Bishop takes. Takes, takes, takes. Okay, up. Takes. Queen takes. And that should be mate. If we played here, that'd be mate. We took here, we could just take there. I was looking at that, but I'm not exactly sure if that actually works though, because we take here, if we take back, I think he can block with his bishop. Well, no. I guess you're right, because if he blocks the bishop, we just take. Yeah. That's an interesting idea. So, here, here. The only problem is I don't know how to continue after the king's here though, because this bishop here guards c8, so I'm not. Well, maybe we would have to play here and then threaten to come there. Wow, that does win a piece, doesn't it? Interesting. If we go here, does he have anything if we go here, if he goes there though? Oh no, we take. Actually, we can't take. Oh no, we win the queen. Oh duh. If it goes here and here, we just win that. Yeah. That's silly of me. I don't know what I was thinking, yeah. We'll do one more and then I gotta log. That'll be, we did good. We got a lot of learning done, and that's what it's about, getting better. Well, one sec, I'll give you guys a chance to look at this. I'll be right back. Trying to see if queen here is got there. He comes here. Trying to see if check's there after that. Okay, here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Knight d7. King c8. So rook d1. Okay. Knight takes bishop. Queen takes here. And if he tries here, we can always play check there, and that delivers mate. After here, queen takes his mate. Interesting. Now the fact is, what happens if he goes here. Now we have to look at what happens if he goes there. I don't really see anything after this move here. I don't know what to do after that. I guess we could, but then he can play knight takes bishop, knight takes rook. Okay, let's see. Okay, if we play here, here, there. Okay, let's say he moves his rook right to, let's say f8. Yeah, you're right. That does save the knight, doesn't it? So maybe it's not about mating, maybe it's just about winning material. So do we take with the knight or the queen? Let's see, yeah, because he... Okay, we'll end it there. That is completely winning. For sure it is. Wow. Well, do you guys have any questions about the upcoming any of these puzzles? Do you have any questions? Yeah, that was, but hey, we worked through it, didn't we? We did good. Do you have any questions before I log off? About any of the puzzles we went over, any of the three? Okay. Well then, thank you all for logging on and spending time, and you know what? We're getting better. We're on the up and up, so we just got to keep pushing forward. Remember, learn from your mistakes. Sometimes you got to find a teacher that works for you, or a player. Like if Nakamura works for you, if Karpov works, you know what? Find a player that really works for you, that you can study and you play most like. And as well, remember that always there's a plan in the position. Like for these three tactics or puzzles, there was a plan. We had to be patient, and we had to make sure that we focused down and didn't move fast. So just remember, make sure that your idea is 100% before you move it, because I would not want you guys to get to such a winning game, then all of a sudden, you know, one inaccurate move and it's a back rig mate. But so just remember, always plan the position, just gotta find it, and then when you get two, you can always remember what we say. Love it when a plan comes together. Well guys, as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, and keep studying chess and doing good, guys. And I'll be back on, Lord willing, tomorrow, so keep studying. Bye bye, guys.